I'm ready.
Hi, this is Stan Fitzgerald with Veterans for Trump and Legacy PAC. I'm here with Kevin MONCLA. Did I say your name right, Kevin?
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you.
So Kevin's opted to stay off camera for this election integrity investigation he's running with the Election Oversite Group. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So Kevin, we spoke for a minute off camera about some of the evidence you have. Let's start with the tabulations. Can you explain to the viewers who might not know what they are, what the tabulations are, and what you found in the 2020 election results?
Okay, without the ballots or ballot images, which are missing from the original count for Fulton County, for instance, the next best thing to recreate or to document or account for the election results is the ballot. Is the tabulator closing tapes. The tabulator closing tape is basically a receipt or a Z tape for a cash, similar to a cash register Z tape, that would say all the transactions that happened and the total of those transactions. So each tabulator produces a tape that has a total for each race or for each contest, and it's usually signed by the poll worker, manager, and two witnesses. In Fulton's case, for the November 3rd, 2020 election, all of the early voting tabulator tapes were printed on different machines, which is against Georgia law. And what they did is the results for an election are saved on a memory card, just like your camera. And those memory cards were removed from the machines that actually scan the ballots when early voting was ended. And then on the night of the election, after the polls closed, they were inserted into surrogate machines and the tabulator tapes were printed. And there's a lot of problems with that. Number one is that there's nothing that prevents you from taking a memory card from one machine, putting it into another machine, scanning ballots to your heart's content, and then closing them out on election night. Nobody would be the wiser. The reason they wouldn't be wise to it is because the tabulator tape only prints, a tabulator only prints the serial number and the counter of the machine that's printing the tape, not the machine that tabulated the ballots. So it masks the identity of the machine that actually did the work. So in essence, the tape is fraudulent. It has a different serial number, a different protective counter number, and just has numbers for the results. To make matters worse, the early voting ballots in Fulton County for the November 3rd, 2020 election totaled 315,000 ballots, which is basically 2/3 of all the ballots cast in the entire election. All of those tabulator tapes are unsigned. Nobody signed them. So there's no certification whatsoever for 315,000 of the 528,000 ballots that were cast. And
So
we can go a step further.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just can you elaborate on that a little more? I mean, I'm following because we've lived this here in Georgia, but for people that might be on the outside looking in and trying to understand what you're saying, Fulton County is, I guess, the largest voting pool in Georgia, and you're saying that 315,000 votes are on these tabulators and none of them have followed the proper chain of custody, or do you have more evidence than just a breach in the chain of custody?
Well, it's not just a breach in the chain of custody. It's there's no way to authenticate the results for each of those tabulators because the identity of the tabulator that scanned the ballots is hidden. That's one of the problems. Another problem is that there are more tabulator tapes than there are tabulators that were used. And the reason for that is because they were swapping flashcards out during the course of the election while the polls were open, which is against the law. It's it violates chain of custody. And if you take a memory card out before the polls close, that memory card is not encrypted. It is analogous to having a spreadsheet on a thumb drive. You can change the numbers at will.
So the average person is going to ask, what evidence do you have of this?
We have every tabulator tape that was printed and used as the hard copy legal certification of the ballots cast, and they are blank.
And how did you acquire that evidence?
I acquired them through a long running effort and campaign through open records requests, and which I had to maintain daily. Phone calls, emails, buying flowers for
I'm sorry.
records department. I've done it all. But
so you've maintained written proofs of official methods, legal methods to acquire this evidence, and you have this in a report form that could be presented. Is that correct?
that's correct. And not only do we have maintain the records, we have the certification from the records custodian of Fulton County saying these are the true and correct copies of the actual early voting tabulator tapes.
Okay. And again, for the average person, why is this not common knowledge? I understand you've done some work with Garland Favorito, and he's tried to present similar evidence. But why does the public not know this? Just your theory.
Oh, we've written articles. I've written articles for Uncovered DC, the Gateway Pundit, and we put this information out. But it's very if you're not interested in it or have a legal case, it's hard to spend your Saturday understanding tabulator tapes.
So it is in the public domain through some of our conservative, lesser outlets. It's not in mainstream media, so people could find this. In addition, I'm sorry.
I apologize. I think John Solomon did cover this particular issue. I forget his outlet right now, but yes,
Just the news. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So okay, so my question here
it's also filed with the SCB. We filed an official complaints with the SCB, State Election Board, and
okay, now that's interesting to me. So you're temporarily located in Georgia, and you're working on this for your organization. What filings have you made here in Georgia with the Secretary of State or the election board?
I think we have 12 pending complaints right now.
And have you been given any information on dates to adjudicate your complaints?
No, it's a joke. Okay. And I hate to be flippant about it, but it's we've exhausted every avenue and means of having them heard. The only two complaints that have actually been investigated or are being investigated is because we submitted them to the governor. Governor Kemp's office did vet our data, which in both instances took almost 2 months, and then was forced to refer it to the state election board for further investigation. Our data is rock solid, correct, and can't be refuted.
But when the governor came out a couple days ago, might have been yesterday, I'm losing track of time. It's starting to run together with all these questions and indictments on the president. The president put out that he was going to have an irrefutable report released on Monday, including Fulton County's work, and he kind of put that off, I guess, for the legalities of the proceedings. But Governor Kemp couldn't let that go. He tweeted out or responded on True Social that this was a perfect election. There was nothing, suspicious or anything. But you're telling us here that you gave this data to Governor Kemp, and his office referred it to the election board, which is, in my opinion, an acknowledgement that there's something to it, and he wanted it investigated. Is that a correct assumption?
That is correct. we worked with his general counsel and satisfied all of their questions, provided all the data, explained it to them, and they professionally and respectfully worked with us and said, yep, there's a problem here, and then forwarded on to the state election board.
So when the governor starts attacking the president, he could look in his own closet for what is.
Actually, I responded to that
Oh,
very
you did?
tweet. I
Okay.
did. I'll put it in the chat here.
Okay, well, I can't see it because you got the camera disabled, but I'll get the, oh, I see it there. But I will get it from you if you could please email it to me, and I'll attach this to our press and website that we put out with your interview, and I will forward this to the people you asked me to forward it to. So with that, let me please ask, how could people find your website, and is there a public link to this information other than your response to the governor?
We have a Substack page. It's Election Oversite. That Substack.
Okay, just explain to people, how to find it.
Yeah, if you just go to, let me make sure I have it correct. Election Oversite .substack.com.
Okay, Kevin, I appreciate you sharing this information with us, and please do email me the data, and we'll circulate this again through our press room and here in Georgia, as well as on a national level. So thank you, sir. I appreciate your help.
Thank you, Mr. Stan. I appreciate you reaching out.
Talk to you soon, brother.
Take care.